Hey, what's up my ninjas? Shinobi here with another Diablo 3 video for you. I wanted to do this video for quite some time. I never really got around to it. I was doing a lot of different things with gear builds and stuff as time went on with Diablo. I was making a lot of videos in the beginning of Diablo, and I've still been making a lot of videos recently as well too. And that is, this video I want to cover the 10 most annoying monsters, in my opinion, my top 10 list. Things that I just wanted to talk about for so long now. You know, in the beginning of Diablo 3, you pretty much built your character two ways. You had really low damage, but you were really tanky, so you could survive and not get one-shotted before all the nerfs and stuff happened in Diablo 3 in Inferno difficulty. Or you were a glass cannon that did a lot of damage, but you got one-shotted pretty much. And boy, did these 10 monsters here really give glass cannons a hard time, pretty much giving almost any class a hard time in the beginning. And I want to go back and look at the nostalgia feeling of the beginning of Diablo 3, because the expansion will be out and just around the corner. There's going to be a lot of new monsters, and I want to go through and, you know, kind of share with you guys my top 10 list for the most annoying monsters in Diablo 3. Remember now, most of these monsters here were annoying back then. Nowadays, everybody's pretty much on farm mode on pretty much anything, and the game's pretty simple nowadays. But let's go back and let's remember what it was like in the beginning of Diablo as we're coming up to the expansion here. And I got all the footage for this stuff, and trust me, it was not very fun going back and dealing with all these monsters that I did not really enjoy, so I hope you do enjoy the video. Also, down below, put your comments and what you think is the most annoying monster in the game, in your opinions. Maybe share it with your friends, all that kind of stuff. Hit like, and I'm going to pick one of you guys to get a gear build on the live stream. So good luck everybody, and here's my list for the 10 most annoying monsters in Diablo 3. At number 10, we got Zoltan. Now, you may be thinking, okay, this guy is pretty annoying. He puts his little bubble up, shooting fireballs at you. He's always bebopping around everywhere as in Ubers, and also you face him while you're progressing through the storyline. And he's always got the, you know, the wall coming down and hitting you, and he can be pretty difficult in Ubers. However, I put this guy pretty far back in the list, at the end of the list, because you only really have to encounter him a couple of times. It's not like the rest of these where you encounter them on a very daily basis. So you don't really have to go and do Ubers. Once you have your Hellfire Ring, you pretty much never have to see him ever again. But in my opinion, he's pretty annoying with all those little slows that he puts on you and all that kind of stuff. But I will give you one tip, you demon hunters out there. If you are doing Ubers, make sure you use Elemental Arrow with Ball Lightning. It'll channel a bunch of shocks and do a massive amount of damage to Zoltan to get a little bit of revenge on someone that's really, really annoying. Number 9 on the list, we have fast-moving monsters. Now I'm talking about, not talking about elites or champions or anything like that. I'm talking about naturally fast monsters, and most of the time the smaller the monster, the faster it was. And the problem fast monsters had in the game is when you played a glass cannon character like a demon hunter or other glass cannon classes like wizards were in the beginning and such, before all the different builds came out, you pretty much had to kite around these monsters, and the fast moving ones were on your tail over and over and over again, doing lots of damage to you and killing you a lot. Now, some of the ones off the top of my head that would come to me are frogs and soul rippers. Soul rippers killed quite a few people in hardcore difficulty, and the frogs were one of the ones that were very annoying to me as well. Maybe you guys remember these, but they're pretty annoying, and the fast monsters nowadays aren't really that big of a deal because you just blow up everything. But back then, I think they deserve to be on the list, both of them. Now, number 8 on the list isn't going to go to a monster that can actually deal damage to you, but it's going to go to treasure goblins. Now, the reason I chose treasure goblins is because treasure goblins back in the day, back in the beginning of Diablo 3, were this really tempting monster, and everything was so deadly and infernal before they did all the nerfs that sometimes a treasure goblin would run into a big group of mobs, and you would think to yourself, is it really worth it to go and get them and risk dying? When most of the time you ended up dying because you were trying to go after the treasure, even though there were some places that eventually got nerfed where you could actually farm treasure goblins in a safe location, but most of the time treasure goblins just really brought you more trouble than rewards, and that's why I think treasure goblins should be number 8 on the list. Number 7 on the list, this one might be a personal one to me, but phase beasts. If you remember phase beasts back in the beginning, they have the self ability, teleporting ability, and they hit for very hard, and you pretty much never saw them coming. You'd just be killing mobs in Act 3, and out of nowhere phase beasts would teleport on top of you. Hey, what's up? Boom, you're dead, and you're just like, whoa, what the hell just happened? And they were really annoying to kill as well too, because you'd be chasing them and then they teleport behind you and one-shot you from behind you. It got really annoying really quickly, and they're very big too, so when you're in a really small quarter area, they could really trap you in and you wouldn't be able to go anywhere. That's a personal preference for myself, but I think they do need to be on this list. What do you guys think in the comments? Now, number 6 on the list, and I was thinking about putting this one a lot higher, are the Blood Clan Occultists. Now, these guys, you may not think, Blood Clan Occultists, what is that? It's those big guys, they're kind of like those sorcerer guys, and they could put shields on, and you see a description on the screen, you'll be able to see what it looks like. They could put shields on pretty much any monster that was close to them. So if you had 2 elite packs on you, they would shield another elite pack. That elite pack would be even more difficult to kill, and these things would be hitting you with fireballs from across the map that would pretty much one-shot you. And they were just really annoying, and especially when they were elites. They weren't something that like you'd want to farm. If you were going through and you were trying to farm, you'd be very efficient in your farm. If you ran into these, they pretty much just slowed down your farm because they wouldn't really go away because they were so annoying. They'd always just keep hitting you with those fireballs. And then if you did spend the time to actually kill them, your efficiency just pretty much went out the window because it took forever to kill these things, even when they were trash mobs. Now, number 5 on my list here, I think a lot of you are going to agree, are the Sand Wasps in Act 2, or as a lot of people like to call them, the Bees. And what they would do in Act 2 before they were nerfed, they would pretty much one-shot you or two-shot you with those little things they shoot out, and they would just swarm around you and pretty much trapping you in, and you just maybe hit a vault or something and vault right into a big thing of bees flying into your face. And people were very, very upset with these things right in the beginning of Act 2 as well. When you started the act and you're like, okay, let's do this, let's start the act, there they were right in the beginning in that cave area, just waiting for you to welcome you to Act 2. And in my opinion, back in the day, Act 2 was one of my least favorite acts, mainly because of Sand Wasps. Now, number 4 on the list here, and I think this is pretty fitting, is pretty much any monster in Act 4. Oh my god, guys, I cannot tell you, it sucks so much to farm Act 4 back in the day, and it sucks nowadays to farm it as well too. And people really don't even want to go into Act 4 because every monster is more annoying than enjoyable to actually farm. You have things like the Oppressors, you have the Morlu, you have the Mallet Lords, you have the Corrupted Angels, the angels that would just charge in and then they would like sit on the outside of the map, and if you're a melee class, you couldn't do anything except for sit there and wait for them to charge on you. You had the Mallet Lords that if they smash on top of you, that's a guaranteed one-shot on you. You had the Morlu that would chase you around and comets would fly down from the sky, pretty much one-shotting you. And when you had a lot of them around you, it was pretty impossible to get away from them. And then you also had the Oppressors, which were those devil guys with the big mallets in their hands. They'd fly in towards you, and then they would slam down and stun you, and then they would hit you very hard and kill you. So they were very annoying. I mean, it was still doable to do Act 4, but pretty much nobody farms Act 4 in the beginning in Diablo 3, and they still don't farm Act 4 today just because it's just such an annoying act. And I think that, you know, this really needs to be something that's mentioned on the list. Now, number 3 on the list, I don't know their actual name, and I don't think anybody knows their actual name, but it is the trees. And you know exactly what I'm talking about when I say the trees, because they're pretty much the only trees in the game. And they are very, very annoying. They're pretty much the worst enemy of the CM Wizard. CM Wizard would just be standing there, stun locking everything, and all these little green poisons would just pop up all around them, and boom, there goes the CM Wizard. I can't tell you how many CM Wizards I know that died so many times to these trees and still die nowadays to them. Just recently we were doing hardcore difficulty with some of the people on the live stream, and a friend of mine, Lost Chain, decided to go into an area with a whole bunch of trees in there and try and kill them. And when he dove through vaults on his demon hunter, he actually dove right into a pile of poison by accident, lagged out a little bit, and got instantly annihilated on hardcore difficulty in Inferno and lost his demon hunter. And that's why we call it pulling a Lost Chain nowadays, because the trees are just so devastating and so annoying and just not fun to farm. Now, number 2 on my list here, I was thinking about doing it to number 1, but you know, after a lot of consideration, it could be considered number 1, because I think a lot of you out there would think that these would be number 1. But remember, this is my personal list, is the Fallen Maniacs, aka the green goblins, the ones that you find in Act 3. There's even some of them in Act 2. There's red ones in Act 2 as well, in the storm halls, that are very annoying, and pretty much these little guys would run up towards you, explode, and there goes your hardcore character. Now, these monsters themselves were the sole reason that people gear themselves so drastically in hardcore, especially back then. People don't really do Act 3 as much anymore because it's not as good as Act 1 or Act 2, but people would be so terrified to get blown up by these green guys that people freak out when they pretty much see them. You have a little anxiety attack because you think you're just going to get destroyed and blown up because they just chase you around. Even though they're pretty easy to avoid, the one situation that would get you the most, though, is when you're running in through Keep Depths 2 and you break down a door, and guess what? There's 5 or 6 of them sitting right behind the door. You hit the door and boom, there goes your barbarian. Time to start over. So, very annoying, and I think a lot of you are going to agree, maybe even think that's your number 1, but for me, I think it fits perfectly at number 2. And for number 1, the one that I chose to be the most annoying monster in Diablo 3, was a little annoying back in the day and is super annoying today because people need to farm these things so often because Fields of Misery is such a good place to go and farm, are the Savage Beasts, or as people call them, the Bulls, with their little charge, and they just come out of nowhere and can one-shot your characters. Even people that are in above average gear with good resistances, good armor, 70k plus health on MP10 can get one-shotted by these guys. When you're in Fields of Misery and you got a bunch of mobs around you and you just see that guy creeping up on you on the outside of there, and you know, I gotta move, he's coming at me, and then boom, he flies right into the pack and hits you. Now, the most annoying part about them, because they can be avoided, especially when you see them coming, is when you don't see them coming. They can charge you from off the map, and just boom, there you go. If you weren't paying 100% attention and didn't react in milliseconds of time, you're pretty much going to get one-shotted or lose a lot of health depending on what your gear is like. But another reason why they're just so annoying, the reason they made it to number 1 spot on the list, is because Fields of Misery is just farmed so much that you run into these so often, and after a while you're just like, okay, I'm sick of these Savage Beasts, let's take them out of here, just let me farm the goat guys or whatever they are. And the other thing that's a little annoying about them as well is when they're standing beside you and you're trying to burn them down quickly, they can actually charge you from right beside you and you don't even know it. I think personally it's a bug in the game because they can charge you without giving you that animation that they're charging, and that can be some pretty devastating damage as well. So that's why I chose Savage Beast to be the number 1 most annoying monster on my list, and I think Savage Beasts really do put the misery in Fields of Misery. And all corniness aside, guys, I know that was kind of bad. I want to thank you guys for watching the video. That's my list. I want to know what you guys have to put down below. Share this with your friends. Put it on Facebook, Twitter, everything like that. Come by the live streams. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Down below, put a comment. Let me know what your lists are, what you think are the most annoying monsters, why they were annoying. And remember, I'll pick one of you guys as well. And make sure you hit that like button. And I do appreciate you guys watching the video. Anyways, my name is Shinobi. And until next time, thanks for watching.